Hello, this is Martha McCoy, and I'm in Sharon Kelly's kitchen today, and we're getting ready for the 4th of July, aren't we, Sharon?
We are.
And we're going to be doing some wonderful cooking treats here for everyone to learn how to make and maybe have them for this next week. So go ahead and tell us what we've got going here.
Well, I decided today, rather than doing a barbecue, because the heat is so intense right now, that I would come up with a menu that we could either do in or out. So any of the items that are cooked today can be cooked inside, or they can be put on a grill, a barbecue. So the first thing we're going to do is pork, pulled pork, and I've done two kinds.
Okay.
One is very simple, and it's a sweeter pork. So you just simply take about a 2 or 3 pound pork piece. Now I used a pork tenderloin today. They're very easily accessible, and they're very low fat. So if anyone's watching their fat content, and they cook a little quicker than a butt roast would cook, but any kind of a pork roast, a pork tenderloin, even boneless chops will work, anything like that. So the first one is a root beer, and you can, if you're going to do this on the grill, you'll want to put the liquids in a pan and do indirect barbecuing over the grill for about 6 or 7 hours. So you'll have to tend to it quite a bit.
Yes.
A smoker works well. Today I'm using the crock pot, which is great for this time of year because it doesn't heat up the kitchen.
True.
And it's very easy, especially for working moms or for people that have a lot of family in. They can throw it together early in the morning and be done with it and just kind of nibble and graze all day long.
Right.
So in this crock pot right here, I have put 2 pounds of pork tenderloin, and I have salt and peppered that with just regular black coarse pepper and some kosher salt. Then I did a little bit of onion salt and garlic salt over the meat. Then over that pork, I simply laid the whole pieces in there, and over the pork I poured 2 cans of root beer.
Really?
And that cooks up, it marinates the meat, the carbonation in the soda tenderizes it as well, even though the tenderloin is very tender to start with. But if you're using a cheaper cut of meat, it will tenderize it right up. And you'll cook that on low for about 6 hours, and then take it out and throw away the root beer drippings that were left in the crock pot. And then you will shred that meat up, and it will probably just fall apart. And then I use just any kind of a jar barbecue sauce over this. And then I add about 1/4 cup of honey, which just sweetens it a little bit more. So little kids that don't like the spicy type of barbecue enjoy this, and it's a good way to get the kids to eat.
So just a regular type of barbecue sauce.
Regular
not
type.
Okay.
You can
Because
you can buy the sweet kinds. Really, the root beer just adds carbonation for
it doesn't help.
tenderization and the sweetness that a brown sugar would add. So
Okay.
you don't really get a lot of flavor from the root beer, but you get some.
Okay.
So the barbecue, I think there are different brands now that are sweet, and those work well with it, or just a regular barbecue sauce. You can make your own if you want, and you'll see in the other recipe that the sauce that I use on the other is more like a homemade sauce that's spicy, and I'll go through how to put that together in just a second. So when you get ready to serve this, you just reheat it in the crock pot with the barbecue sauce on it, and then we're going to make some slaw here in a minute, and that can be done several different ways, and I will make it one way, and then the second one, for the spicy one, you might want to omit the sweetness from that, and that will give you a little crunch, and I always serve them on a bun.
Yes. So you could have 2 different kinds.
Yes.
And then people could choose which
you
kind
can
they
have the sweet or the spicy.
Wow.
This crock pot has the spicy.
Okay.
It's a little more complicated, but it's still very simple for any beginning cooks. So you want to put a 3 to 4 pound piece of pork in the crock pot. Then you want to pour about 1/2 cup of white wine over that crock pot. Now, if you have a lot of children, if you're opposed to using alcohol to cook with, you can substitute chicken broth, you can substitute apple juice. You can even use water as long as you season it.
Chicken broth.
Yes.
I would never thought of chicken
Always
broth.
chicken
Really?
broth is a substitute for white wine. So
Oh, I didn't know that.
yes. So pour the chicken or the white. I've used wine today, so pour the white wine over that. Then you'll mix in just a bowl a cup of ketchup. Now today I used half hot and spicy ketchup and half regular ketchup because my family likes things pretty spicy. I like things sweet. So then you add a half a cup of Worcestershire sauce, 2 tablespoons of lime juice, and I always use fresh citrus if I'm going to use it. You can use the bottle if you like, but fresh citrus just adds a lot more.
Oh, yes.
And then you use a teaspoon of chili powder. You can buy just chili powder. I always have chili seasoning on hand from the winter. I just use it and it works fine.
Oh, okay.
Then a teaspoon of seasoning salt. It comes in different brands. You can get it at any grocery store. And 2 or 3 dashes of Tabasco. However spicy your family likes it, just add whatever. And some of that will cook out a little bit. And if it's too hot when you're all finished, you can always add a little bit of sugar to counteract that heat. It won't taste sweet. Then you add 2/3 cup of water and you just put the lid on it, and it's the same cooking process as it was for the root beer pork. And you simply cook it on low for 6 or so hours, and it will shred pretty much, you know, on its own, depending on the cut that you get. Now, like I said, today I used a pork tenderloin, and each pork tenderloin has a silver skin over the top of that, and you'll want to remove that because it's tough and kind of nasty, and you just take a little knife and snip that off of there.
So is this what you would prefer, that cut, whenever you do
I
this?
prefer it because I have to watch the fat intake.
Yes.
So I just think,
as most of us do.
I know. And if you use a different cut, it might have more flavor from the fat, but this is a little healthier version. This can also be done on the grill. So just do the same process with the indirect heat. Put it in a foil roasting pan, set it on the grill. It will take a little longer. A meat thermometer is your best friend. I have one that actually everyone in my family has now because I love them so. And you simply put the probe in. You can leave it in the meat when it's in the oven. You can leave it in the meat when it's in the barbecue. I've even convinced my husband that this is the best way not to have red hamburgers. And this one has different types of meat. You just push the button. So if you it says poultry, beef, chicken, and it will tell you the temperature, and then it has an alarm when it reaches that temperature. So it will shut off just a few minutes before.
Does this go in the oven too?
No.
So
this sits on the counter.
Shut the oven door.
And shut the oven door and leave the probe in the meat, whatever kind of meat you're doing.
Where do you get this?
This one is actually a Williams-Sonoma one, but you can get them at any kitchen store or Bed Bath & Beyond, anything like that. Walmart may even have them. I'm not quite sure.
I've never seen that. That's
So
really
they're great.
Oh,
All
I
my
bet.
children have them, and even though they don't cook, they at least know that their meat's going to be done.
Yes. Very important.
So we have 2 kinds of pork, pulled pork today, which is great for the holiday coming up. It's great for any time of year. It freezes beautifully. Just let it cool down, put it in a Ziploc, burp the air out of it, and just pop it out and put it in the microwave when you're ready to eat it. And it keeps quite a while in the freezer and does great. So it's a good thing to cook up ahead of time on a rainy day, and you've got it all ready to go.
Yes.
And a lot of times, I know especially down south, they serve the coleslaw on top of their barbecue. So today we're going to make a pineapple coleslaw.
Ooh,
So I've taken 5 cups of, this is just the packaged slaw mix.
Okay.
You can use all red cabbage, all green cabbage. If you want to chop your own cabbage, it's a little bit cheaper. A bag of this is about $1.50, so it's pretty economical. It will shrink down, so after it sets and chills, you're gonna not have quite as much volume as you have at this point. So anyway, 5 cups of that, and then you're gonna take, and I have not found a smaller size can of the pineapple tidbits.
Oh.
You don't want to use crushed pineapple because it just is a little bit too mushy.
Oh, okay.
But if you can find the tidbits in a smaller can, it'd be great. If not, I use about half a can of this, and I use the juice as well.
Okay.
So we're going to stir in, and then Martha, I have chopped 1 green bell pepper, and this one is actually from our local farmer's market.
Oh, wonderful.
It is, their produce so far has just been phenomenal.
Yes, it has. I've been going
So
out
we're
there.
kind of incorporating those produce items today. So if you'll just
Just go in
throw
here?
in that green bell pepper.
Oh, it smells so good.
They have been
Mhm.
good. And then, like I said, we're going to put about a half a can of this pineapple. Now, if you're going to put this on the spicy barbecue, I would make the batch but omit the pineapple.
Oh,
Or you can make one batch and do the slaw together first before you put the pineapple in, and then just add the pineapple if you're going to do both kinds of pork at once. So I've used about half a can, juice and all of that. Then to that, I'm going to add 1/4 of a cup of sugar, 3 tablespoons of cider vinegar,
3 tablespoons.
Mhm.
Wow.
and that'll equal to just about 1/4 of a cup. So we'll just kind of eye that.
Oh, yes.
I'm very good at eyeing and pinching and
Yes. You've cooked long enough to
I
know.
have.
Yes.
And then you're going to want about 2/3 of a cup of half and half. Now
Oh.
this is the fat-free half and half. I haven't found that it makes any difference,
I haven't
so
either. I've been
why
using
put
it.
that extra fat in there?
Mhm.
So we're going to do that. And then mayonnaise. If you'll excuse me, I'll get that out of the fridge. I didn't want to take any chances
Right.
on that mayonnaise. I just kind of eye it, but I think the original recipe called for about a cup. And then this, will, like I said, will get more of a dressing texture to it as it chills. And you'll want to chill this for about 1 to 2 hours
Okay.
before you serve it.
Now, you keep saying that you put this on top of the meat.
Yes.
Are you saying, I mean,
I'll
on
show you.
top? Okay, because I'm trying to, I've never done that, so I'm trying to figure out, literally, instead of lettuce or something, you're putting this on.
Yes, this would be like your condiment to the barbecue beef.
Okay.
So, this, since I have put the pineapple in it already. Now when I do the barbecue pork, and this is just a little trick that my mother taught me years ago, and it's probably very well known, but I have had some friends that weren't real aware of it. But if you put the meat on the top part of the bun first, then it doesn't sog through that thinner bottom.
Well, now that's really smart.
And then you can flip it.
I hadn't
So
thought of that.
a little trick from my mother.
Yes.
And then simply take this once it's chilled and just pile that right on top of that
Let me hold this for you.
barbecue like that.
Oh my, doesn't that look beautiful?
And then you can flip
Flip
it.
it over. Look at that.
So it's kind of a messy plate, but it's
Oh, but
very
most things
tasty.
like this that are messy are so good. Oh, that's gorgeous.
Now, if you want, when you're using the spicy slaw, if you want to leave the pineapple out and substitute a couple teaspoons of horseradish, that gives it a little kick as well.
Really?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
Just regular horseradish.
Just regular horseradish that you buy at the grocery store.
Oh.
So this is through, and we can just simply set this aside for now, and it does need to chill.
Do you put it in the fridge?
There's no room. Just
Okay.
put it right
Just
there, it'll
put it
be
right
fine. And then we'll go on to our next dish.
Mhm.
So right now we have a burger and we have slaw, and then to round out that menu, we're going back to the farmer's market, and we're going to use these wonderful tomatoes,
Oh, aren't
which
those
are my
gorgeous?
favorite of the summer.
Mm.
And we're simply going to cut a hole in the top of those tomatoes.
Those are beauties.
They are.
Gee.
Dick got those out the Santa Fe Farmers Market.
Mhm.
and they have been very good. So you're going to want to cut like a little cone shape down in there. And these can be done on the grill. They're a little messy, so you'll kind of want to make sure you've got a clean little corner of the grill, and just kind of drain a little bit of that juice out of there. Then we're going to take bacon, and you're going to want to cook and crumble about a half a pound of bacon for these tomatoes. So they're kind of going to be stuffed with cheese and bacon. And if you want to add anything else to it, you can. You can add green peppers, you can add mushrooms. It's kind of like the same taste as a crustless pizza.
Okay.
It has cheese, and I use the either the Italian shredded cheese. This is a mozzarella and cheddar blend. Sometimes you can get the Italian cheese that already has the seasonings in it. It's whatever you want to use. If your family doesn't like mozzarella, use all cheddar. If you can use Colby Jack. If they don't like cheddar, just use all mozzarella. It doesn't make any difference. Then I have an herb garden, so I mainly use the fresh herbs, and I use basil and rosemary. A lot of people don't, so you can just use Italian seasonings and just put in however much you think your family will like to give that a little zip. And then after your bacon's cooked and crumbled, you just kind of tear it in these pieces. Now, if you don't have bacon on hand and you have the bacon bits that are the real bacon, not the fake Bako bacons, but the real bacon bits, you can use those as well.
Oh, okay.
So you just put the
This is
bacon in
much
there.
better, the real
It is
stuff.
much better. And I have a son that's addicted to bacon, so we always have bacon on hand. And then I just mix mayonnaise enough with that until I get to the kind of consistency that I want.
Okay, I've got a question. A lot of people use the Miracle Whip. Now, which
You
you always
can
use
use-
the mayonnaise?
No. I do a lot of baking. I bake almost every day, and I bake. I don't eat mayonnaise unless it's cooked in something. We don't eat it on sandwiches.
Okay.
So I keep mayonnaise on hand because I do bake a couple of cakes that use mayonnaise instead of Crisco or eggs or that kind of thing. And so that's why. But Miracle Whip works just fine.
Okay.
Yes, and it's less caloric as well, less fat. So you just stir that up, and it's almost like the consistency of stuffing.
It is.
And you can salt and pepper if you want. You don't have to. And then you simply take that tomato and you just push that down in there as much as you want.
Oh, you're good at that. I'd have it everywhere.
Well, it's kind of messy. And then you just set them in a dish. Now I do have some already baked over here so that you can see what they look like.
Oh, look at that.
And so when they come out of the oven or off the grill, they look like pretty much like a
Isn't
little
that-
pizza
Oh,
in a
that's
crust with no crust, and they have a lot of flavor. They're really good, and especially anyone that likes stewed tomatoes, baked tomatoes, even fried green tomatoes. It still has that real tomatoey taste.
Yes.
And right now with the abundance
Of tomatoes.
of tomatoes. Now that may not last if we don't get rain, but anyway, I'll just set this right over here. So now we have our sandwich and we have a vegetable, and then of course every meal needs some kind of dessert.
Oh,
So
definitely.
we're real big on dessert at this house. So a summertime favorite of my children is lemonade pie. It's very simple to make. It requires no baking. It kind of goes back to our grandmother's era of icebox pies, they call them.
Yes.
And this is lemonade pie. So you can, today I'm using a purchased crust because I was out of town yesterday and didn't have time to make my own, but you can certainly make your own. The ones in the store today are great. They also carry, I noticed when I bought this, that now they have shortbread crusts and wafer
Really?
crust. Yes, so you could use any type. I wouldn't recommend chocolate, but this is just your old basic graham cracker crust. So to that crust, you are going to add 1 frozen can of lemonade. And I use the pink lemonade because it just gives it a little bit of color.
Oh.
You can use whatever brand you like. I will tell you that the less expensive brand of lemonade has more color than the expensive brand of lemonade.
Really?
And as far as taste, I can't tell any difference. This pie does tend to lend on the sweet side, but it's a tart sweet. So to the lemonade, you stir in.
Let's show how pretty that is.
It is pretty.
Gorgeous.
Then to the lemonade, you add Cool Whip. Now this is just the original Cool Whip. You can substitute the creamy, the low fat, it's whatever. It's a very flexible recipe. And I just kind of guess it, to the texture. And then you stir in 1 can of Eagle brand milk, not evaporated milk, but Eagle brand milk.
Right. Got to be really careful to get the right one.
You do. And then you just kind of fold and tuck until you get all that together. And this too, you need to chill. So really this menu is one of those that you can do ahead of time and still you can do it. Well, for example, I got up at 4 this morning and did everything. So by 10 o'clock when swimmers start coming, I'm finished cooking for the day.
Yes, you can enjoy.
Yes.
And you've got items here that you don't have to tend to. They
No.
can just come in and get what they want.
They can. I can set it out. They can get whatever out of the refrigerator. The tomatoes are good at room temperature as well as right off of the grill. So if you want a pinker pie, you can substitute limeade and make a limeade pie. That's not quite as sweet as the lemonade one, but either one, is good. And I usually don't add food coloring, but if you want a pinker pie, you can always add some red food coloring to it and just whip it right in there. So you have about the texture of like a pudding.
Yes.
And you simply pour that into the pie shell. And then you'll have that chilled. This is a big batch and the pie shell isn't exactly big enough because I'm used to my own, which are much bigger pie tins. So just chilled out like that. You'll have enough for another one or a little one. This does freeze as well. If you want, you can even serve it frozen. It's like an ice cream pie. And when you serve it, simply top it with another scoop of Cool Whip, and then I take a zester and just take some of that lemon zest and sprinkle on top.
Oh, that would be pretty.
So it makes a lovely presentation. It does not take a very large piece. It's kind of like a cheesecake. Just a little bit of pie goes a long way with the lemonade.
So we're freezing this?
No, I just chill it.
Okay.
I just pop it in the fridge a few hours. It sets up pretty fast. You can tell it's not real loose at this point. So it sets up and then you can just cut it into a pie and it's ready to go.
And enjoy. Oh.
So that is our menu for today. We've got the pineapple coleslaw right here, which can be either with or without pineapple. If you want it spicier, add the horseradish and omit the pineapple. We have the baked stuffed tomatoes. They go great with the sandwich, but they also go great with a steak, with chicken breasts, with pork chops, even fish. There's nothing better if you're dieting than just to have the stuffed tomato and a piece of fish on the grill in the summertime. So it works great. And then to top everything off, we have the lemonade pie. So I hope that's a good 4th of July feast for you.
It definitely will be. And, when you have all the family coming, This is just perfect.
It
This
is,
perfect.
and I have a very large family. When they're all home, there are 17 of us
Oh my.
eating, so we have to have things that make a lot.
Exactly, exactly. Well, thank you so much,
You're
Sharon.
welcome.
And happy 4th of July.
You too.
And this is Martha McCoy with the Chanute Channel.